I'm going to go into basically what I was given, and let me just see if I can find it here. And you can see I've got quite a bit of emailed information. And we can see here that this is going to be the best way to show you in real world scenario what can happen when you basically are not aware of what you should be when working with proper cables. So I got this message. I built a custom spindle cable for this individual, Chad Bookman. And I got this email. Hi, Vince. So it's been a few months since I got the cable from you and everything has been fine. All of a sudden tonight, out of nowhere, the spindle stopped working. I've been trying to troubleshoot and look at everything, and my last resort was to look at the cable. When I check the continuity of your cable, the red and white leads show that they are broken somewhere between the start of the wire and the end of the wire. There is no power going to the spindle whatsoever. What can we do to rectify this as fast as possible? This is actually an interesting message. And again, after reading what we just did, you can see where this is going, and we can see what we're about to see. Here's my response. Hey Chad, a replacement cable would be $205 with return shipping, as I would have to remove the plug on the cable and install on a new one. Naturally, the faster you could send me the plug to me, the faster I could build the cable. Without the plug, I can't build it, as those plugs are only sold with the spindle. I've never had a cable fail before internally, so I'm recommending him to review carefully that you're not exceeding a 3.5-inch minimum bend radius in your cable chain. Now what's interesting is this is the only message I received from this client. The only one of its kind, other than him purchasing the cable and telling me how great it was. So then we come down here. Another point, and I'm making him aware of this, another point to be aware of, if a lead is fractured and the lead's PVC casing is penetrated by its conductors internally in a double shielded cable, it would arc off the shield drain as it's grounded. So proceed with extreme caution. Now, many of my electrical guys out there know what I'm talking about, and I've discussed this previously. This is very serious. This is not something to play games with. We're dealing with three-phase. And again, once a cable is not working, guys, for whatever reason, take it off the machine immediately and start checking continuity. As we come down here, we can see he messaged again. And he even sent pictures. Okay, well, I just put the cable in, I believe he means cable chain, he says knee chain, that I added to my machine. I can't see how I would have to spend another $200 for a cable. Here's a pic of my cable chain. Okay, we see his cable chain. Now this is that Shapioco, I believe that's how you say it, I'm not sure. We're looking at his chassis. And we know that this unit's been in use for 2 months. This is what he said. If we look at the cables here, first of all, we see a bunch of tubing, a bunch of everything in here. I have no idea how smooth this chain is. I have no idea if he followed any spec, if he did anything. But as we look over here, I see that the cable is twisted. You can see it right here. If you look at this close enough, we can see it's twisted. Okay. The other thing, I see it's not plugged into the spindle up here, so I know he's obviously serviced the unit to some degree. These are the type of messages that I get. Okay, as a vendor, I want you guys to see what I see, because how would you look at this and determine what's wrong? You can't. It's virtually impossible to determine what's wrong here. So he sent a picture thinking in his mind, I'm going to be able to look at this and determine what's wrong. Well, thank God I have all the years experience I do, because looking at this and covering what we just did, we see the hoses going through here. We see that the cable over here, though, is twisted. I can see it, and I know what occurred. What we talked about, where that cable is coming up here and then coming over here, I don't know what radius this is right here. I have no idea. But I know that this is making pressure all the way up against this wall right here, because this is a common effect of what happens in that scenario. As we come down, we're going to continue the conversation. Message me again. So the ends of the cable are fine. When I twist or pull along the wire in the middle, I get continuity. Let's read that again. So the ends of the cable are fine. So I assembled the cable for him. So if the ends of the cable are fine, we know my labor is good. When I twist or pull along the wire in the middle, I get continuity. So what does that tell us, guys? After what we just went over with the cable chain, what does that tell us? Do I know? Now, he said he just installed this in the cable chain. Do I know that? I have no idea. And I'm not calling him a liar. I'm not saying that I feel that he's a dishonest person. What I'm saying is, in business, and many of my business people know this, in an industrial use product like this, I have to look at every factor. And when I'm looking here and I see a twist in the cable, this did not just occur. This happened whenever he installed it or when it was in use. I do not know, but I can tell you right now there is a warpage right there. It looks like a bend or a twist. It's got like an indent. Now, I could be totally wrong, but from looking at this picture, which all I have to go by is that, and of course him explaining that he's used this now for 2 months and everything is working great, that's all I have to go by. And of course explaining here, so the ends of the cable are fine. When I twist or pull along the wire in the middle, I get continuity. So then I wrote here, I'm sorry, but I wasn't there with you for the month. Actually, he used this for 2 months. I do have the PayPal invoice, and I'll put that in here in a second. You've used the cable, so I can't answer what happened to it, but I do know for sure the cable is getting random continuity based on how you bend or twist it, that something happened to it, because it means it's not an internal fracture if you can get continuity, which makes total sense. If you had a total fracture, you wouldn't be able to get continuity. But if you're able to twist the cable, it means that you're bundling it up inside the confined space. Exactly what we covered in the cable chain overview. It's deliberate. I don't know if he used this cable chain or was using another one, but that's exactly the symptom he's having. I also know that if leads copper conductors inside the cable penetrated the PVC casing, you would have what's known as a dead short. Also, as both the mylar foil is conductive, as well as the tin braided copper shields that are grounded, which would lead to a fire eventually. Please understand, and I cannot emphasize this enough, guys, please get this, everybody. Please understand, all CNC cables are considered end-user consumables, as once they're put in service successfully for any length of time, the only option for a cable with issues that you described is replacement. Now, apparently, this must have pissed him off. I never heard from him again. This was 7 days ago. This was on May 1st, was the last message I sent. I never heard from him again. Okay? This was basically done. I'm telling him the truth. I mean, I do not know what occurred for 2 months, but I do know that this symptom he's having and everything he's discussing here is due to the fact of what we just covered with that cable chain issue and describing how everything was not most likely set up properly. Cables do not just fail, guys. It's not just, you're not going to just wake up one day and usually a cable just, that's it. It's totally done. There's no symptoms of that occurring prior. I am not there, you're not there to test this chain to see what kind of friction we have here. But I can tell you right now, we see a lot of stuff going on here. The table was obviously used. We see all the wood chips here. We see all the tools on the table. So we know that things were going on. Am I liable for 2 months of use when I have no idea what occurred? That's the thing we have to look at. You're using your machine in industrial capacity, and if at any point in time when he received his cable, he had questions, of course he could have asked me. I never received an email. So I was kind of wondering if I would ever hear back from him, because I didn't. Usually I hear back from all my clients. They'll come back to me and say, hey, I want to, we'll work something out. We'll do this, whatever. What do you think? Is there a problem? Usually I get the message, hey, what happened? What do you think I did? And then when I reviewed this over and over again, I knew exactly what he did. And after I saw that bend there, I knew what was going on, where we're having a collision inside the cable, and most likely that friction is what did it. So needless to say, what ended up occurring was I actually came over here. Let's go back. And I want to cover this message exclusively because I do not know who this person is. I've never sold anything to this person. The only reason his name is being disclosed is because it's his YouTube name. So I'm sure this comment will just get removed. But I've been working with a gentleman by the name of Chad Bookman down in Sebring, Florida area over the past several months, helping him get his Shapico XXL CNC router up and running with controls to a more advanced VFD and spindle setup. He was hesitant to buy a cable from you, but he said What can it hurt since you seem to know what you're doing? Now, I'm not going to deny you do nice work. However, if your cable is so bulletproof, why did it fail in 2 months of use? Also, why would you provide a cable that is listed as standard appliance wiring material? Yes, I did my digging and found the specs on the cable you're using, calling it your cable. That has hardly any flexibility to it due to being a stiff PVC jacket. I assume you should know that the cable is going to endure a lot of flexing in at least 3 locations at the X, Y, and Z axis. I have Chad's cable that I've asked him to send me so I can inspect it. That is the most horrible cable I've ever seen as far as its quality. Stiff PVC jacket, a layer of loose braided shielding, then mylar foil, then the wires with nothing more than a little string in the center of the wires that hardly provides, if any, at all protection from chafing. Do you think everyone is just hanging their cable from a bungee cord screwed to the ceiling? The cable looks like it belongs more so in a cable tray with 0 movement applied to it over its lifespan. 2 months your cable lasted for Chad, and you want him to pay another $205 for a new cable if he was crazy enough to accept that, question mark. A refund is what's in order in my opinion, but that's between you and him. You really should be using some better cable, like maybe cable that's actually designed for continuous flexing applications. I'm genuinely upset that Chad has lost his money for a cable he was told, as well as everyone who watches these videos, to be bulletproof. I've made people aware not to use your cable, and some that I've spoken with who have gotten your cable have went a different route because your cable's too big even to fit these connectors, and obviously too stiff and just downright not made for the application. You claim it to be otherwise. I would still be getting continuity on all 4 wires if your cable but only the green ground wire and black wire have continuity. The white and red are dead somewhere in that 10-foot length. Now, once again, I don't know this person. I've never sold to this person. I woke up to this message. Now, many of you business owners out there, you've gotten messages like this, and I'm sure it's gotten you heated. But I want to cover this because I want to cover this in a different way, and doing it backwards the way I did, I already know what happened to the cable. But as I go through that, let's cover this comment because I actually broke it down on Microsoft Word so we can actually identify, and I can add questions in for us to answer because, again, I want to know who I'm working with. This Jason guy, whoever he is, decided that he was going to come in, and it's obvious he has some questions, and I don't know, again, how he fits into the puzzle, but let's go over some interesting things. I broke down some of the paragraphs so I can actually break down questions I have. Let's go over the first one. However, if your cable is so bulletproof, why did it fail in 2 months of use? And I said, this is a very good question. Was I provided any details of the cable's installations in the email that Chad sent? No. No, I wasn't. He just said he installed it back into a cable chain. I have no details whatsoever other than they used it for 2 months. Was I provided any details on the knowledge of the end user? Do I know Chad's knowledge on actually understanding minimum bend radius and understanding how to work with cable chains? I have no idea. All I know, once again, as a vendor, is that he used the actual cable for 2 months. Did the end user know that all cables, regardless of genre, have a minimum bend radius? I don't know that. I don't know that. Is it my responsibility to ask him that? I don't really feel it is. I feel like we have to own our robots. If you're buying equipment, I'm sure when you go to Home Depot, you don't walk into the guy and go, you know what, I know how to do this. I need knowledge on this. If you don't know, some guys will do that. They'll say, hey, I need knowledge on it, and that's what I was waiting for. If you don't know something, most of you guys ask me. But I'm not going to volunteer and sit there for 2 hours explaining what I'm assuming you know, and if you don't, you should ask. Did the end user properly select the required cable chain for his application? That's a good question, too. It's amazing. Jason's big sermon that he wrote never covered anything about the cable chain. He just kept discussing over and over again PVC being used. Well, Jason should know that most spindle cables are made out of PVC. If the end user wasn't happy with the cable upon receiving it, why didn't he request a return? That's another good question. You receive something, you're not happy with it, you're not happy with the flexing, return it. One of the things I do, and I feel I'm one of the only businesses that do this. I'm sure there's others out there, but I know I'm one of the only ones I've seen do it, is I always send a picture of everything you're going to receive. So if I make a mistake, you'll possibly catch it. And I think it's just a good practice to do. I believe in that. I believe in being open and here, guys, this is what you're going to get. I don't want anyone to feel like, there's a smoke and mirror or there's any type of, like a vendor swindle going on. It is what it is. You guys pay for quality products. I provide the quality product. Then he writes here, also, why did you provide a cable that is listed as standard appliance wiring material? Now, I like this paragraph. And why I like this paragraph is it really explains who this person is. And when I say that, I would look at all details. Many of you do. If you get this and you own a business, many of you guys who own businesses, you realize that you could tell who you're working with the second you break down the message you receive. This right here dictates that this individual really isn't aware of what he's discussing, and we'll cover it really quick. Also, why would you provide a cable that is listed as standard appliance wiring material? He goes over, he claimed the specs and all this other neat stuff, and it says, please, and I wrote, please review the overview of appliance wiring material, aka UL AWM. And many of you guys may not know what that is, so let's take a peek. What we have here is the overview of appliance wiring material, also known as UL AWM, and that's appliance wiring material. What is UL AWM? Because he's claiming it's standard appliance material. It's basically standard appliance wiring. I don't know where this gentleman would think that you would find 16-4 double shielded cable with an outer diameter of 10.5 millimeters used in general appliances, but let's cover it and let's enlighten him on what he's lacking knowledge on. What is UL AWM? Appliance wiring material, denoted as AWM, is a very large category of wiring cable that covers various industries and constructions under UL Standard 758. You can find this type of wire in your washing machine, AC unit, and refrigerator of home. And that's probably where he ended. If you'd have read the next actual sentence, it would make more sense. You can also find this type of wire on an automated machine, robotic machine tool, or within an electrical cabinet in a factory. This is a standard, guys. That's all it means. Appliance just symbolizes what equipment you're using. That's it. Okay? That's all it breaks down, and that's the UL standard. Now, UL 758, the UL standard, many of you may want to know what that is. I brought that up too. So if you guys want to check this out, this is basically the properties of the cables, what would fit under that. UL, of course, is underwriting laboratories for safety, which is very important. Just to know the cable is UL rated should tell him something right off the bat. That's a quality cable. And then over here, it breaks down the standard UL 758 cables and wires have a minimum voltage rating of 30 volt up to 1,000 kilovolt AC, and from 3 kilovolt DC power upwards, and encapsulates low voltage. It goes on and on. Tells you all of the substrates used, PVC, polyvinyl chloride, and that's what that cable's sheath is made out of, as well as the internal conductor's insulation. So again, appliance cables and wires tells you exactly what you're dealing with. You guys are more than welcome to check this out. Now, as we go through that, let's go back and continue on. Where were we? Okay, right here. Actually, I covered this, and I want to back up a little bit because I think I got too ambitious and we went a little too fast. Did the end user properly select the cable chain for his application? I asked that question. Then I said, if the end user wasn't happy with the cable, why didn't he return it? We covered that. Why did, in his own words, he begin twisting and pulling the cable to attempt to get continuity? Think about that, guys. Why would you begin twisting a 16-4, 10.5 millimeter outer diameter cable, which is designed for industrial use? Why would you begin twisting and pulling the cable? What do you attempt with that? What do you think you're going to achieve with that? I really want to think about that. And I know some guys will laugh, and I'm not saying it to make a joke. I mean, it's an industrial cable. If you're twisting it, you're putting more friction on everything. The cable's not designed to be twisted. If you're pulling the cable, you're obviously doing what was already done in the cable chain, which I already know happened. But either way, it's just very interesting to think logically, who would write that if they really understood the concept of what they're working with? And I'm being honest. Now, as we come down, we already covered this. He writes here, I assume you should know that the cable is going to endure lots of flexing, and then he writes, and I highlighted this in red because it keeps bringing up stiff PVC jacket. A layer of loose braided shielding is what he found when he opened the cable and then mylar foil, then the wires with nothing more than a little string in the center of the wires that hardly provides, if any at all, protection from chafing. It's interesting, I've done numerous videos on my cable, but I'm going to insert an excerpt here of me opening the cable live to show you exactly what that cable looks like internally. And again, I don't know what he's looking at. I don't know if it's just him trying to rouse me a little bit, but realistically, I'll let you guys look at it and see exactly what we're looking at. One other thing I found interesting in this paragraph, I have Chad's cable that I asked him to send me so I can inspect it. Now, this is interesting. I find this really interesting. Why would the person having the issue with the cable send the cable to a third party for inspection? That makes no sense, especially after contacting me. I've contacted him. I'm waiting to hear a reply of something. Never got it. So some random gentleman who, I don't know if he knows this guy. I'm assuming they're friends of some sort. I'm assuming he met this guy in a forum or something. I don't know. But let's think about that. You have a vendor that's never shied away from answering a question, or, you send a cable that was built by him to another random third party for inspection. And the interesting thing is, what is this person's background who's inspecting it? And I really want you guys to think about that, because we're going to go through this, and when you see what I've seen, it's interesting. It's very interesting. Let's review the cable on what the cable looks like inside.
Hey guys, in this video, I just want to open up, this is an actual piece of my 16.4 spindle cable. It's double shielded. Part number E509062, AWM style, that's the UL listed rated style of 2733. You can see it's PVC cased. You can see the double shielding inside there. You can see the yarn separator. I'm just opening this up because Jason once again claims that my braided shield and my foil are loose. And this is in his own writing. So I just want to see how loose this is, and you guys be the judge. I'm opening this up right in front of you. Now, of course, taking into account that we've already sold 728 with Chad's cable that he claimed to work on. Now, please show me where this is loose. Now I'm going to just cut this right here. We'll go around it together. Just to give you an example. And left off. Where is that loose? Please show me. Does that look loose to you? No, that's actually the way double shielded cable is intended to be. You can see the tin braid as it's firmly wrapped around the actual conductors. Inside the tin braid, of course, is our mylar foil. There's our 16 gauge shield drain, which is appropriate for this cable. And again, we've got our yarn separator dead center in the middle of those actual leads. Okay, so when we hear BS like we are hearing, I want to totally confirm just how false that what he's saying is. I mean, we can see this for ourselves. Like I said, I'll let you be the judge, considering now I'm at actually I just sold another one today, so 729. This was an assembled spindle cable for a client. You can see exactly what you're getting. I don't believe in hiding anything, and I've done enough business online to where I believe in showing you guys exactly what the truth is, and I've done that from the beginning, and that's how I feel why I'm successful. You can see exactly what we're working with here. Thank you.
Let's consider the quantity of cable sold without issue and companies using it. Now, I put this in here because, once again, validation to me is everything. I try to be open, an open door with you guys. I want you to see everything. There's nothing, there's full transparency with me. I'm going to show you exactly who uses that cable and have used it in the past. This is interesting because I get asked a lot of, who do you work with? What, who works with your cables? This is Bill Dotson. Actually, it's an email from him. He was asking me, questions on building cables. And he wanted me to build some cables for him. We went over some soldering techniques. Bill Dotson, Senior Structural Design Engineer at Aurora Flight Sciences. You guys can look that up. More than welcome to. He's a very nice guy, and he's just a really cool guy to talk to and work with. But another interesting company that many of you have definitely heard of is Boeing. Boeing bought one of my G540 motion control packages. This is the actual invoice. You can see here March 16, 2017. 10-foot, 16-gauge, double-shielded robotic spindle cable. Now, Boeing has that cable, okay? Okay, that's one, okay? But what does that mean? Let's think about it. Let's look at this, okay? Here is my eBay sales on these cables. Now, when I say eBay sales, I do a lot of outside sales of eBay, like many of you do. I do PayPal direct invoice all the time. As a matter of fact, with Chad, I did a PayPal direct invoice. It's interesting because you're going to see a quantification of sales only based on eBay sales, not based on external sales direct through PayPal. So let's look here. 306. These are just unassembled spindle cables. 306 sold. 268. 39. 20. 17. Now we're getting into assembled. 49. 28. And now that's only through eBay. So what does that number break down to? Where exactly are we at? Well, let's look. Let's come back. We are looking at 728 sales confirmed with one internal failure. I actually sold one the day as I was going to create this. I actually sold another cable. So it was 728 with one internal failure, and that's Chad's. And I said, this seems really odd. And it does. It really does seem odd. Also, before we skip over here, I actually left that there, but we'll just bounce right back over here. Why would a person, we already covered that. Let's review the video and what the cable looks like. Let's consider the quantity of cable sold without issue. Once again, we covered that. Let's consider that the manufacturer of Jason's CNC on his channel contacted me about building cables for his CNC. Now, just so everyone is aware, I don't believe Jason knows this, but he's about to become aware of it. And it's kind of embarrassing. But I'm going to tell him anyways, because it's important to know, and I think it really is pertinent here. If you look here, you can see I got this eBay message. Let me just do this. Take that off. Okay, I got this eBay message. And it says, Len, I am contemplating offering a VFD spindle kit. Now, before I get into this, Len, of course, is Len1007 is my e-dealer account. That's the name on the account. He didn't realize my name was Vince. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, give you guys a little more clarity. Len, I am contemplating offering a VFD spindle kit and researching component sourcing. One main item, of course, is the VFD power cable. I think you offer a great item with safety clearly in mind. I have a big concern with liability offering such a product. I've built my own cable, so I know the effort behind making one. That said, I'd probably rather source out this item to someone like you. As I research the idea and start to price out the components, I wonder if perhaps you would have some small room to offer a discount price for low volume orders. I do not believe the volume would be overwhelming, but if for some chance it grew, that it might be a good problem for both of us. And I responded, hey Ed, thank you for your support. Spindle cables are time consuming to build properly, and considering I've currently built, done over 200 just this year, I believe it's safe to say it takes me 2 hours to assemble them. I consider myself at an above average engineer with this component. When factoring in the bill of materials for each cable leaves very little room for cost savings when including my labor and shipping costs, as none of the assembly of this cable is able to be done automated. Let me know what quantity you have in mind. Now again, this is Ed Ferrari. For those of you who don't know who Ed Ferrari is, you're about to find out. Hi Vince. His next message. I appreciate your honesty. I dare say as an engineer myself, I could not even approach building the cables in 2 hours at your quality level, so your cost structure is very reasonable. Since I'm thinking this kit would be a premium, then I will just price in your cable. Really, the only other options available are DIY or cheap, dangerous Chinese cables with no grounding. As an owner of Onefinity CNC. Once again, as an owner of Onefinity CNC, I'm targeting that community initially, and I think 50 to 100 this year would be reasonable. When my plans become more firm, I will get in touch with you again. Thank you so much for replying. What's really interesting is Jason is video, and on his channel is in regards to a Onefinity CNC, and I find that a little ironic. It really is. It's a little bit poetic there. But as we come back and we look at this, he writes here, do you think everyone is just hanging the cable from a bungee cord screwed to the ceiling? Otherwise, I would still be getting continuity and all this other stuff. And I said he may have, but I wouldn't know as I'm not there with the end user to determine what he did or may have done. And I've stated this before, guys. We need to be responsible for our stuff. I do not know what you don't know. If you don't vocalize what you don't know, then you're your own worst nightmare. And in some cases, you're dangerous just because you're unaware of what you don't know. And unfortunately, many people do not admit that. That cable looks like it belongs more in a cable tray. And then he goes on and on. Why would you want $205? And I said, you're correct. Cables don't fail in 2 months typically. And I asked, so what did Chad do with the cable? We really don't know. It's interesting, you said, and he did state this. Now, I'm not going to deny you do some nice work. Okay, and I quoted him. Now, I'm not going to deny you do nice work. So then we agreed the failure would be from an internal failure from an end user installation as I didn't install it. That's interesting. Let's think about that. If you install the cable, you are liable for that cable. Okay? If you're not willing to be liable for the cable, I suggest you not get involved in CNC in general, because at one point or another you'll be involved in doing that. If you think a vendor is going to be held responsible for any type of actual incompetence when it comes to installing anything that you purchase in regard to building yourself, manipulating yourself, assembling yourself, any of that is on you unless you actually vocalize, hey, I need help, I need a diagram. That's totally different. But if you don't make known what you need because you assume you already know, that's where things get dangerous. That's really where things get dangerous. Did you request a minimum bend radius from me for him? That never happened. I never received an email from this guy. I don't know who he is. I've never spoken to him. He's never purchased anything from me. Did he request a minimum bend radius from me? Meaning Chad? Never did. Once again, guys, just so everybody knows, I wouldn't disclose their names. This gentleman disclosed the names. I really don't have a way to hide it. He's put it in his actual message on top of his name is on his YouTube channel. He says a refund is what's in order in my opinion, but that's between you and him. It's interesting. Whenever it's someone else's money, it's much easier to give it away. Many of my business owners understand that. But this is my point. Once again, you stated, now I'm not going to deny you do nice work, which had nothing to do with the cable's failure. You've already identified that. Nothing I did caused the failure. The only other variables are controlled by the end user. Now, I want you guys to think about that. If the guy received the cable, he didn't like it, I want to return the cable. Uh-oh, it's got my connector on it. Okay, so I'll refund you for the connector, or I'll buy the connector, or I'll buy a spindle and remove the connector and give it to you. See, I do business the right way. The difference is I look at details, and we're going to cover some interesting details. This is getting good. I'm telling you, this video is worth watching to the end. Only other variables are controlled by the end user. I don't think I could say it any better than that. Many of you realize that you're buying a robot, you're assembling a robot. I have no idea what you know or don't know unless you vocalize it. I'll say it again. You really should be using some better cable. Then he's telling me what his opinion is. Once again, we can read it. I'm generally upset that Chad has lost his money. I, once again, don't know this guy's relationship to him. It's interesting. He's apparently not a vendor. He doesn't build systems that I know. I don't know his background. But we will shortly. We will shortly. He was told, as well as everyone who watches these videos, to be bulletproof, meaning the cables are bulletproof. That's interesting. It's apparent, and my response is apparent you don't understand what context this term is used in my videos. Once again, mistake on his part. The term bulletproof refers to the cable's ability to prevent EMI penetration. In no way does the term mean the cable is impervious to an end user's lack of knowledge in proper cable chain selection or exceeding the cable's minimum bend radius. I don't think I need to say it better than that. Most of my guys out there electrical know exactly what I'm saying. We just covered it, guys. We just covered it in this video, and I hope he's watching this. I hope they both are, because if Stevie Wonder is teaching Ray Charles how to drive, you guys better be aware of it. And how I know that he's not, either of them are, neither one of them brought it up. Neither one of them said, hey, you know what? I used this cable chain. We did this. We did that. Most guys that go through a troubleshooting process, they highlight it right away. I've been in this business long enough online to know, hey, when I'm serious about getting stuff running, I want to get it running. And most of these guys realize, hey, let's tell him everything. I'll make a quick video. Hey, Vin, this is what we got going on. Somebody does that and only speculates basically and goes into this regurgitation of anger and belittlement on what I basically more or less putting down what I sell. My products suck, whatever. I already know that there's missing information, so we're about to find it. I've made people aware not to use a cable, and some that I've spoken with who have gotten your cable went a different route because your cable's too big to even fit these connectors. Now that's interesting when he says the cable's too big to fit even these connectors. I've done numerous videos on my channel explaining that the connectors that HY spindles and many Chinese spindles come with are coming with incorrect actual connectors in terms of the housing. They have to be machined open. That's what I'm paid to do. That's what makes the assembly of the cable so difficult, is that you have to do that, do it properly, apply the silicone. That's where things get hairy. Once again, let's highlight the fact, we'll come up here. Now, I'm not going to deny you do nice work. I don't know how that fits in, but it's interesting to bring that up because he's, once again, covering, you know, it doesn't fit the connectors, but I do nice work. And I put that connector on, and he had that small ceramic connector, which is the toughest one to install. No problem. Then he says, it's obviously too stiff and just downright not made for the application. Now, that's an interesting claim that he makes. It's downright too stiff and not made for the application. Once again, let's look at the math here, guys. 728 confirmed sales on eBay, 100% feedback, we're flawless. Okay, 728 sales. Okay, he claimed here that it was appliance cable. He was incorrect there. Okay, he's not aware of what that is. Okay, and like I said, I'm not really poking fun as much as I am. I hope he's watching this to learn. What would lead you to think you're an expert in your field? Meaning, we're looking now, this individual is coming across and trying to portray like he knows what he's doing. This is a guy who knows what he's doing, right? He must know. I'm learning, he's going to try to teach us all something because I don't know what I'm doing. I've sold 800 cables or 728 cables just on eBay. I don't know anything I'm doing. I sold a cable to Boeing. They are engineers over there. They don't know what they're doing. Applied Materials, I didn't actually find that invoice, but I've sold to them too. They don't know what they're doing. Let's see. Let's review your YouTube channel to answer this question. Okay? Let's find out who this guy is. Here we go. Now, we've got 89 subscribers. In his video, one of his videos, this video is purely to demonstrate how simple installing a VFD and spindle could be on your Onefinity CNC machine. This is a do-it-your-own risk, and I take no responsibility for damage done to your equipment if done incorrectly. Installing a VFD and spindle means working with high voltage, and proper safety precautions should always be taken. It's interesting he puts that in there. He takes no responsibility. So he'll put this up, and he takes no responsibility for it. Okay, this is interesting, guys. Now, I'm going to just highlight the fact, if you want to know who Jason is, also known as Stewie, you can come over here, and you can click Start on the video over here, and he'll explain basically who he is and what's going on and all that neat stuff about himself. He's just starting his YouTube channel. That's cool. God bless. But where it gets interesting is when we start seeing what's going on with his demonstration here in the VFD. And this is where we define hiding online in terms of, let me post something, because many guys do this, and I don't think they realize what they're actually doing. I don't think he really genuinely realized what he was doing when he posted this, because when you post anything on someone's channel, or you post something online, and I've discussed this before, whether it be in a forum, whether it be on YouTube, you portray yourself as an expert. The way he was making comments, this guy sounds like he's MIT engineer, right? Let's hit play.
Now, yes, you can see mine is on. Don't do this if you're a beginner. Don't ever go.
Don't do this if you're a beginner. Okay? Let's keep those words really, really close to us. Don't do this if you're a beginner.
Messing around in here if you're a beginner. There's a lot of voltage in there. So hopefully you can see. Actually, take this away. Try to get in here as close as I can. Hopefully. So you've got 3 input terminals right here for your incoming power, R, S, and T. It really doesn't matter which one of these you use. Let me start off by saying as well that I have the 110 volt version 2.2 kW.
Now I just want to pause the video here. Do you see his spindle cable right here he's using? This is one of those ultra flex cables, right? Really nice cable. I can't say anything bad about it. It's actually a very nice cable. We look over here and we see this green lead coming out of it, right? We also see a shield drain here that is not insulated at all. We see a zip tie. This zip tie is interesting because when he covers what this is used, well, actually he doesn't cover what it's used for, but you guys will figure it out when you actually discuss it. You can see here he's using ferrules installed, and on the ground lug, he actually has 2 terminals in one ground lug. Now we already know that's a no-no. Why? Because these terminal blocks are designed for one lead only. He's using ferrules. Ferrule's best application is a terminal block for insertion like this, not a vertical terminal block where we're looking to pinch. When we're looking to pinch like that, you should be using ring connectors for safety. God forbid one of these pull out, especially the one here, where we actually have the daisy chain going on, where one ground is coming in from the shield and one ferrule is installed here in terminal 9, also known as ground. All it takes is one of these to hop over and make contact, and you're SOL with a dead short. But let's watch the video.
So I've only just got 110 volts coming in, and I'm using the R and S just because my OCD, if you read a book, you read from left to right, so might as well go R, S. And then you do want to hook up a ground. I don't know what's up with these Chinese. They seem to not like grounding things, it appears.
Okay, I don't know what that comment's about, but I can tell you this right now. If you read an HY user's manual, and I've covered it in a video, they do discuss exactly how to ground the VFD. Now, whether or not he's actually read that, that's up to him. As far as the spindles themselves, the Chinese have a different association with grounding because they assume you're going to ground the CNC chassis. I've also discussed this in previous videos, which you may not know. If you ground the CNC chassis and it's metal, your Z-axis is metal, it will ground the stainless body of the spindle, which most are manufactured out of, and therefore you ground the entire unit. So grounding is all interpretation based on different cultures and aspect. We need to keep that in mind. But what we're seeing here is interesting. Let's continue.
So please disregard my janky wiring.
Now that is a term I have to love, and I do have to laugh at that, Jason. I'm sorry. I got a kick out of that. Janky wiring. I will be using that term because it's a perfect term. Yes, it is janky wiring, and many of you guys out there may be smiling. I hope you use that term as well.
See, this ground wire right here is kind of tied in with the VFD cable, the shielding and the ground, which go in.
Okay, I don't know if you guys caught that. Let's go back again. Let's go back again and let him go with that explanation. I'll shut up this time.
The shielding and the ground. I don't know what's up with these Chinese. They seem to not like grounding things, it appears. So please disregard my janky wiring, but you'll see this ground wire right here is kind of tied in with the VFD cable.
Okay, guys, just to make sure you're understanding, because it took me a while to figure this out. What the hell is he talking about? This is the ground coming in from the power cable going to his R and S terminals to feed power to the VFD. I want to say that again. He took the power cable's ground and linked it over with a zip tie to the shield drain on the spindle cable's power cord, and then attached the ground here with the shield drain to this terminal. This is the individual who's critiquing me, who is critiquing my cables. I have never seen this done, and I'm blown away. I've never seen, I learn something new every day. I have never seen this done. Look at the tension on this cable. And I don't think he realizes just how dangerous this is, because like he said, you're dealing with a lot of voltage in there. He made that clear. But that I've never seen done. It's daisy chained right here, but he must have sneaked the wire in and figured out that I can pinch it using a zip tie to film the video. Now, in best practice, what do? We use a ground terminal splitter, because we have a one terminal right here. You use a terminal splitter where you actually use, and I sell it in my store, a silicone lead coming from this actual ground terminal, and it splits to a bus bar. This way you have multiple points to actually mount different leads from, in which case he needs to mount this other ground safely, so that you mitigate any risk of possible arcing or any risk of damage or safety issues, because this is crazy what I'm seeing here. I've never seen this done. And this confirms my point. When we see stuff like this, I am not making this up. I'm showing you everything. This is one hell of a long video, but I hope you watched it to the end. This is amazing to me, because I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Many of you can't believe what you're seeing. Even if you're photographing this just for, whatever purpose, you're doing a quick video to, show somebody something, this is terrifying. I mean, I can't believe he's doing this. But I said to myself, I wanted to watch the beginning of the video as well, where he actually explains a little about himself. I didn't know he did that, and he explains his background.
So, I'm somewhat familiar with him. I mean, he's Chinese. A little bit about me. I'm a commercial service technician, HVAC service technician.
He's an HVAC service technician. Now, nothing wrong with that career, especially he's in Florida, I'm in Florida. It's hot as hell here, and I respect that career highly. But what we're seeing here, when he came over here and is discussing everything, there it is. We see the daisy chain on top of everything else that we saw back here. Let's see if I can hit play and bring it up.
Go into material or whatever. Flip flop.
And we see this down here, the way this is done. This is just totally unacceptable, guys. This is just totally unacceptable. But I'm willing to make everything right. And I'm telling you what I'm willing to do, because I had to think about this long and hard. I'm not going to lie. Jason, if you're watching this, you piss me off. And I'll be honest with you, like many business owners, to say what you said, I had to think. I had to really think about it, because I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. And as a business owner, it's kind of personal when you say things, and I know that I try to make everything right, and I must be doing a damn good job, because I'm in one of the toughest markets there is. So here's what I'm willing to do. You want me to give Chad a refund? I'm going to do something better than that. I don't know if this is your best work. I don't know what your work looks like, to be truthful, and none of us really do. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to offer you a cable of your choice in the same length, and I will supply it. I'll buy it. The trade-off is this. You're going to build it, and you're going to film a video on it, and we get to see what you can build. That's the fair thing to do. If you're going to criticize me, and you're going to say that what I designed is no good and what I did is wrong, I feel it's fair for you to do it, and I'll even pay for it. And in this way, we can see in the end what you produce. I don't know if you've ever sold anything. I don't know if you've ever designed anything. I don't know, as an HVAC technician, I'm being honest, I don't know much about your career. I know that you keep air conditioners running. That's what I know. But I'll say this, I stay in my lane, and there's a reason I do. So I say, let's do it right. You want to replace your buddy's cable? I'm all for it. Hopefully with this video you learned something. And that's why I did this video, is so that not only did you learn, they learned. And on top of that, I'm still going to foot the bill for you to do a cable correctly if you take me up on my offer. But the cable is only paid for if you film the video to show us your work. I think that's fair. I think everyone out there would probably agree with me. I think if you're going to criticize, I think that the least you could do is show us what is actually true. I mean, show us the cable that you feel is amazing, and that's going to do the job. If you show everybody that, maybe you'll show us some new techniques or something, go for it. You can use the connector that he had on that cable. You can remove it. You've already seen my work. You already have the cable in your possession, and do it. I'll provide the cable, and again, we can squash this, and hopefully, if you find it in your heart, maybe you'll see my point when you leave a message like that to any vendor who's willing in this industry to do what I do. Because the way I look at it is this: it's very easy to be ambiguous and just leave a message without talking to someone or messaging someone. It's very easy to do that. I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. I could sit next to you on a bus or in a restaurant. You don't know who I am. But when you realize that now you're going to be highlighted like you put in these videos, and you see exactly what has to be present, I think it's fair. I think it's fair to see, because like you did here, you can't hide your work, Jason. We've seen your work now. And many guys out there are going to be looking at this and going, well, you know, you're the one that's critiquing, yet what you're showing here doesn't make sense. And that's what I feel. And to critique a cable that's been sold, like I said, well over 700 plus times perfectly, I'm a little confused, but I'm willing to make it right. So to all my subscribers for sitting by and watching this, and I hope you did, I hope you watched it to the end, I hope that you learned something. I hope this was different. It's a different video, and I wanted to do something different. And like I said, Jason, you really did piss me off. I'm not kidding. But I feel this is the right way to do it. You know, a refund, I don't feel is fair in total, because I still built a perfect cable. There was nothing wrong with that cable. You said that yourself. So if I built the cable fairly, I'll trade you the cable for your labor, and you're going to do it right. This way we see it, everybody agrees to it, and we all learn something. And in the end, hopefully, we can part as friends. And that to me makes more sense, whether you buy something from me or not. Either way, I don't know who you are, but to do what you did hopefully teaches others that before you confront anybody online, whether it be a vendor or whatever, this industry is weird. It's a weird industry. Many of you know that. You'll go in, you'll make contact with people. All of a sudden, you know, you buy something, you forget from them. I hear it all the time. Overseas, they buy stuff, they fly away or whatever, as far as, you know, you purchase it and then no more support. I don't do that. I don't hide. There's nothing to hide from. I look at it this way. You guys respect me, I respect you. I've said that from the beginning. That was a little bit disrespectful, I found, but I feel we can make it right. So we make it right. Again, to everybody who's watched this video, I hope you've learned something. Jason, I hope you learned something. And I hope that we start looking in detail at what needs to be reviewed, because without a doubt, safety comes first. And then, of course, saving the equipment, because that's imperative to everybody. It's expensive. Cables are expensive, and we need to take our time, make sure every component has the amount of detail required to be successful. So again, guys, if you need to message me, and Jason, my email, just so you know, is storm2313@gmail.com. Take me up on my offer. I look forward to it. Everybody else, if you have any questions, require quotes, believe me, I'm there. If you need to message me in my eBay store, eDealers Direct, please contact me there. And once again, everybody who can listen to me talk for an hour and 38 minutes, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care.